Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, I would request everyone to just raise their hand or show a thumbs up if you can hear me. Yeah, thank you. So, firstly, good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for joining in today. So, as a part of the StackRoute team, I would be introducing and we'll be commencing with a webinar. Uh, so, as a first thing, let me introduce StackRoute. I won't take more than few minutes, then we'll directly move to the main presentation. Where before which I would just want to state a few things. The duration of the webinar is 90 minutes. Normally, we would request you to keep your microphones off and raise your hands whenever you would have any questions. Feel free to type any questions that you would have in the chat window. And if you have experienced any connectivity issue, please either connect on chat or you can reply back on the same mail to which you had received the invite. Thank you. So let me just take this opportunity first to introduce StackRoute. StackRoute is an NIIT venture which started in 2015. We are providing custom learning solutions primarily for business aligned to develop business aligned talent capabilities. Our programs are designed to cater tech professionals across various stages. The StackRoute's client advisory and transformative programs are designed to primarily address the challenges faced by mid to senior technical professionals with immersive interventions to deliver and measured business outcomes. And we focus primarily for these professionals to climb up the technical ladder across catering to IT organizations from services, products, GCCs, ES startups, and so on. Our flagships interventions are architect programs, product management, delivery excellence, tech leadership, cybersecurity, which are as listed here. As the first thing recently in August, StackRoute received 17 prestigious Brandon Hall Awards, which is primarily showcasing our dedication to developing solution-centric designs and ensuring flawless execution. Brandon Hall Awards are exemplify or signify primarily the approaches in human capital management that are being appreciated at a global level. As a next step, we've been closely working with a lot of organizations and enterprises wherein their need to strengthen the digital architect community was something which stood out. We closely worked with our clientele and reached out to initiate the initiative of the Digital Architect Conclave, which was commenced on 2023, followed by a 2024 version as well. Both events were a grand success. We've received around 120 delegates across 40 enterprises year on year across ITS, various domains and different natures of organization, and attracting a diverse range of delegates from a CXO level to even an aspiring architect. Moving to which, as a feedback was constantly received that there's a need to constantly engage and continuously engage the digital architect community. As a part of that initiative, we've launched the StackRoute webinar series, wherein the first one is the webinar that you're attending on the data products, architecting data products, which will be then post which will be FinOps, then security, resilient systems, and so on. We would be, if you are interested in going in, we would definitely, this was anyway the part of our registration form. We would be glad to share any further details. You can write back to us. As a next step to ensuring we strengthen our digital architect community. Now, let me take this opportunity to introduce both the speakers, Ravi Chitloor sir, as well as R. Nagendra Prasad sir. Ravi has been a ex-director, ex-senior director, and senior distinguished engineer at Dell, and he has previously held multiple senior roles in different organizations. And Ravi comes with an extensive experience in data products and managing at an enterprise level. R. Nagendra Prasad is also our senior mentor and consultant with StackRoute. He has an extensive 40 plus years experience and has been driving a lot of innovation in the space of architecture. Is a seasoned product architect and has also been crucial and critical in a lot of the customized solutioning to delivery to thought leadership that we have been planning. So as a next step, I would like to first hand it over to Ravi sir.
Thank you, Anirudh. Great to be on this webinar today, and thanks for RNP also to collaborate in this session. So, RNP, if you can move to the next slide, we'll cover a little bit of this context and we'll go into the details. So let's keep it interactive. Any questions you have, please, as Anirudh mentioned, please post it away or raise your hand. We could go through the details. But kudos to the NIT StackRoute team for all the Brandon Hall Awards. I've been part of some of the programs, and it has been excellent outcomes from those programs. And kudos to the team for winning so many Brandon Hall Awards. Today's topic is on data products. We wanted to first look at what the analysts are talking about. What resonated with me was the McKinsey's perspective. Companies that use the data are going to be 23 times more likely to acquire customers. They're going to be 6 times more likely to retain customers and 19 times likely to be profitable. So it's not an option. There is a wealth of data that the enterprise captures. If you don't do it, your competitors are going to do it. So it is absolutely critical that you leverage the data at the speed that you want, and to realize the business outcomes that we want. We are going to spend the next 1 hour or so talking about how to think about it. Over to the next slide, Anirudh. So let's step back a little bit and think about why data is a strategic asset to an enterprise. The first click, Anirudh.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is about providing better customer experiences. I mean, we have all been seeing this. Data leads to better customer experiences, and off late, all the AI, ML, and the generative AI is creating more buzz around this, because you can really create world-class products and better experiences. RNP is going to talk and share some of great examples around this, how you can leverage the data to provide better customer experiences to your customer, whether it is ordering food online or whether you are placing a trade, various ways in which you can improve the customer experiences if you tap into the data that you have at the speed that the business wants. Clearly, better return on investments, whether it is supply chain, whether it is finance, all data-driven decisions will help you to have better return on investments. You can reduce the expense and improve the bottom line, or you can improve your revenue because you're making your dollars or rupees run longer. Next click, Anirudh. I touched upon this, better decision making. It is no more intuition. You have to bring the data to the table to make the decision making. That makes it much more easier to make a decision that you're basing it on the data that you're observing, and the data speaks for itself. Next click, Anirudh. And you can click through, Anirudh, as I speak about this. Definitely better business agility. The markets are changing really fast. With the newer technologies that are coming, it's even more accelerated over the last 1 year for sure. So having data in a form that can be consumed in an easy way will give you better business ability. And all of this definitely leapfrog the competition. You will have differentiated value to your end customers. And with AI, for sure, you're going to be, it is required now to have, and it is much more essential to have these kind of capabilities so that you can bring differentiated value to your customers. And last but not least, we are seeing very interesting business models where it's not only the products and solutions that you deliver, but you can also manipulate or rather monetize the data that you have and directly, right? There are companies that are monetizing on APIs that they provide to their partners. There are people who are working very closely with their partners to provide better solutions. So there are many ways in which, if you curate your data well, you can directly monetize it. I see a show of hands here, or is it just
Yes,
can we take
yeah,
the, yeah,
yeah. Thank you for stopping, sir. I would
yeah.
request the individuals who raised hand. So Vadirajan, the hand is raised. Sudhindra.
It is.
Oh, no, no. I think I raised in the beginning. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, sure,
Okay.
sure. Bishwajit.
Maybe Anirudh, we could clear it if you can,
I
and
think
then we
then
could.
sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now, we just touched upon, why data is such a strategic asset to an enterprise. In today's presentation, we're going to be talking about how do you deliver right insight to the right person on the right device in the right format with the right security and privacy, right? That, yeah, I mean, the last one is super critical. It's not just the data, but how do you ensure that whoever has got the access to the data, they have the right amount of information, nothing more, right? And we'll talk more about this as we go through the presentation. Over to you, RNP.
What is? So you're on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will share my
Sure.
I'll share my presentation itself so that it will be easy for me to navigate. Because I'll be playing some video at some point in time. So yeah, good afternoon and thanks everyone for joining. One second. And today's topic, thanks Anirudh and StackRoute team for this opportunity for us to share our thoughts on the new interesting topic in the whole world, which is about the data products. I will go over this entire presentation in a sequential manner, starting with a context, what we all know and where we are today. And if we take this approach, what are really going to be the real benefits for the enterprise? So, as Ravi mentioned, the many analysts, including Harvard, they are really reporting that the methods that we have been following so far in terms of delivering information to decision maker, it has worked all this time, but with the two things that are happening in every enterprise. Number one is the pace at which the data is growing, which is accelerating literally every day. And second is the kind of new roles that have come in the enterprises. Every organization is facing some amount of customized, personalized information delivery requirement. There was a very interesting NASCOM study which said just about 10 years back, we had about 30 to 35 roles in the IT. Now they have noticed that in the same IT industry and within the customer functions, within the enterprise functions, we have more than 350 IT related roles. So it's a huge increase in the number of roles. And just think about when you have growing amount of data and you need to deliver variety of personalized information to so many roles, and which also keeps constantly changing, the methods that we have followed so far to deliver information can be questioned. So this is the whole idea that started around 2016, and today we are really in a place where we already can see almost the 6 to 7 generation of data products. That's what I'm going to be talking about today. 6 to 7 generations of data products have evolved from whatever we started. And it is a very clearly a strategic imperative, or I think that possibly there is no choice. Every enterprise is going to take this route to really address the need of providing the right information to the right person at the right time on the right device in the right format with right level of security. So many rights have to be gotten right. So that's where the entire uh, you know idea of data product, or there is another version which we will also talk about called data as product, will really help in this journey. So let's start with our very well known context. You know that organizations from quite some time, right from the age of RDBMS, they have been running variety of applications, including enterprise applications or even semi-structured applications like the mail systems, the websites, and everything else. And all of them typically generate data. So we definitely are in the business of not only generating data, but storing them in the right fashion so that we can retrieve and process. And of course, the integration of data itself is a big challenge. And also, there is a plethora of tools that are available in the marketplace, and all of them address some part of the other need of a real end user. I'm sure that many of us will remember very simple reporting tools. They started building ability to integrate, but later it became a segment by itself. And today, data preparation and data integration, they are all recognized as a huge domain within which there are, I guess, thousands of tools that are available for one to choose. Similarly, the data processing also really took a lot of interesting turns and twists. We were really looking at one kind of things where the business logic is the one that is primary, and we not only create data, but we update data, and we also create new versions of the data, new types of data from the transactions that happen in an enterprise. And that's where really the interesting thing started, because once you really have multiple islands of information, the decision makers always wanted a single pane view or a single point of view where they can get an integrated picture or a big picture of whatever is happening. That could be at a function level or a line of business level or a role specific level. Many different things that we have all done to deliver this. But one important turn that took us to a very different way, whether we take the data to the program or program to the data, dilemma got resolved with big data, with Hadoop and the MapReduce and those kinds of newer methods. We came to a point where we need not take data to the program because it is so huge that we will have to bring the program to the data. So this is the complete interesting paradigm shifts that every organization or enterprise embraced. And finally, we have the stream. We always believed that we had to store data before we do any processing. Now, this idea on stream processing and in-memory technologies, they completely change another perspective, saying that you need not store data at all. As and when it happens, you can query, you can retrieve, you can do whatever you want to do with it, and if required, store. Otherwise, just forget and move on. And of course, associated with this, there are so many other things like business continuity, disaster recovery, archival of data, encryption of data, data security. I don't even have to tell you. I'm sure all of you would know many, many things. So there is a huge context in every enterprise. There is a hundreds of stories about how data got into the enterprise, how they are there. But the moment the people who are making decisions, they depend on the information that is derived out of facts, then data is also growing. This really creates a symbiotic relationship between the consumers of data and producers of data. We have seen that more and more the demand is coming from the people to make fact-based decisions. The same way, enterprises also started creating newer and newer ways to deliver the insights. and still deal with volume, variety, velocity, and all the other things that we have heard about big data. So we can see the exponential growth as we see in the volume of data, as well as the variety of data that we are generated and the types of data that we generate. Then almost every single enterprise which had to deliver insights, information, they really went through a very simple process, which we are all very familiar with. Really consider all the data sources, get them to some staging area, and then store the data in a form which is conducive for summarization, aggregation, and collaboration using the orchestrated kind of data, and then deliver them by subject matter or a particular domain, or subject oriented, as it was called, data marts, to the users that who really need in those areas. There's nothing wrong in this. This we all practiced for quite some time. Still, it is useful for smaller organizations. But when you really look at the left extreme end and the right extreme end, which are data sources, they become huge, as well as the numbers of the data sources increase. Similarly, the varieties of people whom you have to serve on the right hand side increases. There is only one weak link that you will see, which is the ETL, ELT, or these processes. So organizations started realizing that we need to really do something about managing that weak link to ensure that irrespective of the growth of data, what we talk today is called as a planet size platforms, planet scale platforms. So at that time, when we really need the data sources to accommodate were always on 24 by 7 enterprise with zero latency enterprise and all these kinds of terms that we use, and also serve millions of decision makers across the globe 24 by 7, then the method of extracting things and loading it into an area and constantly maintaining in these two in synchronization definitely caused a lot of bottlenecks. This is where we really look at the things. And in terms of the appetite for insight consumption, also exponentially increased. Initially, we were in the era called sense and respond, which is all about reporting, little bit of business intelligence, ad hoc OLAP processing, and entry level predictive analytics. This, when people saw this, they wanted to move further behind. The real fun of analytics and machine learning, etc., is not in the left-hand side, but it's only on the predict and act side. That was really the most interesting thing, where the adoption of analytics by the huge decision-making community became very, very large. And people were really willing to they consume information, and not only just looking at what happened or why it happened, but also it will tell us as to what could happen. Tell me about the future. So this kind of adoption also people have already seen. So if we really see what are the kinds of challenges that enterprise data world has gone through, at this point we can have some interaction. If any of you would like to come back and share, um, what are some of the challenges that you have seen in terms of managing enterprise data. It will be very nice to hear, because this is where we want to also have more interaction. One or two common complex challenges that you would have come across. Anil, do you need to unmute, or participants can unmute themselves?
Yes, sir, they can unmute themselves.
Okay.
If anyone would want to speak, they can unmute, or you can even type in the chat.
Yeah. Anirudh will help me on, because I can't see the chat.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, this is Pradeep, and great to hear. And I know um, Ravi and Rajendran, thank you very much. And we are on this similar journey over here in the Dell, and great to hear and sharing some of the context over here, Rajendran. One of the big challenges, what I would really like to call the data silo silence, the enterprise is
Absolutely.
really dealing because each of these domain experiences driving their own journey,
Yes.
creating the multiple silos, operational efficiencies, and at the end of the day, the
Yeah.
cross-functional data insights is super, super challenging. I think I can connect to that. Hope it makes sense.
Very well. Thank you.
Achievement.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, we'll keep moving, and of course,
Yes, sir.
I have
Yeah.
opportunity to. So this is exactly the interesting things that when almost every single survey that we come across in the world, the consumers of
Excuse me.
data always
Excuse me,
feel
sir.
that yes,
There was one challenge which was shared in the chat. I just wanted to share that
sure,
before you.
please,
So,
yes,
so the challenge is poor data quality of OLTP,
absolutely,
transactional operational systems, and
yes,
integration of the data from different systems from different types of perspectives and ops used.
yes.
Sorry. Yes. Sorry.
Absolutely, that's totally true. And in fact, I completely agree with that because many of the projects that we had involved internationally, sometimes the data integration and data preparation almost took 70% of the budget, 70, effort and money both. So then imagine what little goes into the real analytics and visualization, really experience creation, etc. So a huge chunk is in the area of data preparation, completely with you. So users, because they really got into the this habit of really looking data as one of the very powerful means to get business context. I'll keep using the term business context because it means different things to different people, but at the same time, it really represents the sum total of all context that is required in order to get before I
Excuse
make a
me, sir.
decision. I think Dinesh, you have
Yeah.
something.
Thank you.
Kindly
Thank you.
share, please.
Yes, Dinesh.
Yeah, I think my organization deals with the many customers, various customers, enterprise, and then medium-sized, different industry segments. The main two challenges, what I have seen over the past last 5-10 years, is organizations are either not aware of what is the kind of data they have and what business insight they want to derive. Many organizations, they don't even realize what is that they want to derive and what is that they want to. They know that they have some data, but they have no clue like what is they want to derive insight from those data, right? And then, but everybody is catching up on the buzzword. Oh, okay, we have AML coming, we have data, but we want to do something, and we want to position our organization as some analytics organization or ML organization, but they have no clue like what is that data they have and what is the insight. And on the other hand, on the other extreme, we have some really smart customers, but they don't have enough data to really take the next leap. Right? So these two is a big challenge. What I've seen many times, we kind of end up juggling and try to convince the customer, okay, you're not still there in your journey. Or in some cases, we say, okay, you have enough data. Please get some insight from that. So these two are the extremes what I've seen, and it's always a challenge. And then see go and go back and essentially understand, right? So what one of the things what we have devised is we kind of designed a questionnaire where we basically walk through the customers. What is the business value you want to derive? Each of the what all the users you have and what all the each individual users, different departments want to derive the business value, and then we work backwards and establish this entire pipeline and go all the way to the data sources. So this particular business requirement requires this data source, and then we end up adding that data source. even if it is not there then. So that's how we establish the pipeline. So it makes much easier by running through those questionnaire. That helps us to really establish the entire pipeline much easier than getting lost and then among the whole bunch of data silos, right? Because we work always backwards. We look at the user requirements and then go and then establish the elements in the type pipelines. So that's the flow what I'm saying. But in terms of two challenges, like what I mentioned earlier, two different extremes. One on the one side, so that they remain basically. Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, Dinesh. Thanks for sharing that. Really appreciated. You have a wonderful, place of begin with the end in mind, like Stephen Covey says, and really look at what value you want to create. And that's exactly the reason why I had put this first point. But at the same time, as more people come into the system and they all want information, they feel that when they started later on, they feel that the value is inadequate or it can be improved. Then this also came up, thanks to all of you. Trustworthiness of the data. This is the real thing to say. How do I trust whatever I'm seeing? Can you show me where it started? Can I see the data journey? Is there a way to audit? Is there a way to validate? These kinds of questions really come. The longer it takes to get the insight, because as we heard in some of these situations, if the requirements becomes different, then we have to execute these things in a project mode. So first identify the stakeholder, their roles, their information requirements, their critical decisions they are going to make, what information will really help them to address those critical decisions, then come back and say that, what data sources are required, what visualization required, what analysis required. And when you can't do all these things like a magic, so there's no magic. And so this takes time. And by the time the requirement has already changed. So this is a very, I would say, a wild goose chase between the consumer of data and the team, which is trying to provide the insight to the team. Then this also exactly what we heard just now. Enterprise has a lot of data. If you ask a question, are you really using everything that you have collected? This would be a very complex question, because I think those who have done data modeling in the very early stages, you'll say that keep on adding more and more columns, but they will never get filled. That's the way that we captured even in the OLTP era. And okay, that information is lying somewhere there, and it also has gone through several generations. But are we able to exploit that to really show the future? Is that good enough? This is also linked to the trustworthiness. This also is linked to the way that we can use. Of course, I don't have to talk anything about this. Security is a very, very complex term. It's becoming more and more difficult to, and that's the one part of the security, whereas providing the right level of security, classification of information, what level you provide what security, on what device you provide what level of security, what role you provide different level of security. So this itself has become a very, so this is the last one which we heard again. These are definitely the silos do exist. And this is the real thing, this was one of the very nice things which I saw in one of the Gartner conference. If they are the CEO in the middle of the ocean, there is water everywhere, but do I have something which I can drink now? No, I'm stranded. But on the other hand, there is information overload to the consumer. There is so much of things that are dumped, and the people are drowning, but I don't know where I'm there. These are the realities. And when you think about a global organization, and really thousands and thousands of personas, and you have literally infinite number of sources, and the copies and our replication also is another nightmare in some of the organizations where they have really taken these steps. So in 2000,
Sorry, I just had one question, Prasad.
yes,
Raghavendra here.
Yes,
sorry about that. This was about privacy and data privacy laws, and then these days this consent protocol when personally sensitive information has to be shared. There may be a large segment of such enterprises, including the government, where you may be able to build very good applications, but I don't know whether those challenges are being addressed in terms of how the privacy laws are evolving and sharing of information, for example, in healthcare also perhaps.
Yes, very interesting, Ravindra. So the important thing that we need to know is that they evolve. They are not constant. So today I can't make one decision like this is the decision that we have made in terms of a policy, but it will keep changing. So the ability or the capability that we need to have is to constantly keep updating. This is where the governance becomes very important. At some point in time, we will touch about that. One of the most important elements of that governance is the ability to dynamically address the policies that will help us to serve the customers with the right data, which with adequate level of privacy and confidentiality. A very, very important aspect. Yes. Thanks, Ravindra, for bringing it up
Yeah,
as well.
thanks.
So around 2018, Zamak, this lady, had a very interesting thought, uh, which became today as one of the things that we constantly see. Were the first to really think data as a product. Why not we really think data as a product? Apply the principles. For example, if I want to even buy one ballpoint pen in Amazon, I have the ability to search. So the first thing that I really have is a discoverability. Can I find what all data we have in the enterprise? Is a wonderful question this lady came up with initially. Then, of course, like just now we explained, security. Now, I'm not sure whether this data is actually useful to me or not. Can I just get something which I can play around and I can visualize, I can really combine with my knowledge and try whether it helps me in some way, which is explorability. That's the third interesting characteristic she said. And third is understandability. This is a very, very important thing with those who have already done some work in data virtualization with products like Denodo or any other. They will understand the power of BCF or business canonical form, which one of the wonderful things that was available in a virtualization platform, that you continue to use the business terms and behind I can rewire my technical columns and whatever I call, I don't have to worry, and it will ultimately really they will see, the business users will see it as a net profit or a gross margin, in simple terms which they understand, not s underscore 55 dot something something with a column name combined with something which is created in a view. No, of course, the trustworthiness factor came already a couple of times. So if we are able to think all these things and really look at it like a product, can we really have a better situation for all of us was the idea. And of course, again, she's very popular. She writes on many columns and very Zamak is a well-known name in the currently in the field of data products. Now, how do we put all the things that we heard into a package? This is where product is always about packaging. So whether we buy Kellogg cornflakes, which is in the packaged form, or whether you buy Dawat basmati rice in a packaged form, it's all about the package. So I will read the second paragraph in the context of all the things that we really do every day. First thing a data product conveys is trust. So even when I am trying to buy a simple item like rice, I am always worried whether the weight is correct. Is it really the right quality or is it mixed? Do I really know that this is the kind of thing which I want to buy? So there are many things, and is it consistent? If I buy 10 times, will the 11th time will it be the same as what I bought in the last 10 times? So all these questions come into the mind, and the product removes typically all those hassles that we go through in our mind. And product always conveys trust. And of course, the premium brands will always definitely depict that in even more pronounced fashion. And we also know the features. What is today with AI and Google Lens and kind of stuff. So we can even trace the origin to the product to its origin, where it was manufactured, when it was packed and what is the expiry, every kind of thing that you really look at. So it has certain features. What is the nutrition facts? When it, these things like I mentioned, expiry date, etc., they're all indicated clearly when I buy a product, which also contributes to the trust. And there is a clear measurable value when I'm really looking at a particular kind of product which I want to use, and I really derive certain benefits. I consistently and repeatedly am able to experience the same benefit, then I have a value created in my mind. Now, interestingly, I can also connect it to a vendor or a owner or in a company which makes this product. They have an assembly line or a process through which they make it, and they are responsible for delivering. And not only that, they undertake a commitment to continuously improve the product over a period of time and life cycle. So that way, any product which we all know has definitely the brand value. It has a manufacturing process behind, it's a company behind. There are things that are declared features. Even when I want to buy a car, I will apply all these things. Behind Hyundai or Audi or any one of them, there is a company, there is an assembly thing, and there is a models they evolve. There are features, there is value, there is a price tag, there is a very clear delivery process, there is a warranty, and there is a commitment to continuously improve. So the word product has so many nice connotations and the meaning associated just with that word. And if we can bring all those things into the realm of our insight or the information that we want to deliver to our consumers of information, then we really have a wonderful thing. So today the community has given this kind of a definition that it's a logical unit that contains everything, all components to process data, all the data sets, everything that you can see here. It is not just the data set, it is the domain interpretation, documentation, observability, policies, security, all kinds of things are put into this, including a catalog or a feature book, you can say. And all that you need to do is to ask what you want, and based on the controls that are exercised to ensure that really the right information is given to the person who is seeking this information, and that's the output that one will get. So I'll pause here. There was a question. Yeah.
Yeah, hi Nagendra. This is Smith here, this side. So, I mean, just wanted to know that is there any specific reason, like whenever we talk about any product, right, and it is prone to maybe a small or a major problem or a bug which requires some kind of serviceability.
Correct.
So I'm not sure if there is any specific reason of a block not present in this particular section of a serviceability. So could you just throw more light on that part?
Yeah. No, I assume that, as I mentioned, that, just like I'll give many examples in that it will become very evident. I'm just at the beginning of this. Yes, I completely agree with you. That's why I mentioned warranty or this. So that means whatever product that you buy, that applies for even software licenses. I think very recently only Windows NT was retired, right? So till for such a long time, Microsoft supported this. So the moment you become a product company, you definitely have the two-sided responsibility. One responsibility is to come up with newer and improved versions and make it as much backward compatible as possible. And otherwise, it will become a new line, like what we see in the mobile phones. Similarly, whatever is released, whatever I have manufactured and given in the field, I definitely have the responsibility to improve and also maintain. Serviceability is an integral the part of the warranty or the connotation that's associated with product. Thanks for bringing it up. I'll be very happy to.
So, RNP, I wanted to add one thing, right? I
Sure,
really
please.
like the term about, you own the data. The last sentence pretty much captures what Smith was asking for, right? You own
Yes.
the data, and you own the entire life cycle of it. Once you give it, And to support it through its life cycle till you retire the data set, you have to think in those terms. That is what the product mindset is about. It's not just providing the initial access, but you got to own, you got to enrich it, you got to maintain it till the end.
Yeah, Sandeep.
Yeah. So when we are referring to this data life cycle, are we
Mhm.
referring to the, say, example, after we acquire the data from the sources, or we are saying that, okay, the source systems themselves needs to think about that?
No, it is after we acquire from the source systems. You will see lots of those part in the architecture part, which will definitely answer that.
Okay. Thank you.
Mike, I think there are two perspectives to it, right? If you are giving it as a product to somebody else, it's your ownership, right? You are supplying to somebody else. Yes, you have the
Yeah.
ownership. But if you are consuming, somebody who is not giving it that way, you have to behave in a different way. They're both sides.
Yeah.
True. Thank you. So,
I mean, if
Cheers,
everybody
guys.
provided you like a product, right, your life will be much easier.
yes, yes. And that's how in our house we have accumulated thousands of products, right? From just in fact, think about it, just in the kitchen, how many products we share, just in the coffee tea variety itself. So it's a very interesting topic by itself. So this is the real evolution of this. I will really quickly run through. The first generation started with very advanced visualizations. Many of you may be able to notice and remember the role-centric insights for decision makers, and I'll explain a little bit about some of these. Then second generation was about looking at one type of data. So there is a beautiful rule my product management guru always says, either you can call it as a 80-20 rule or a 90-10 rule. 90% of this data is only 10% is the software which will help you to navigate. Whether you take a VLCC player or whether you take a Google Photos or any other thing, it has some several trillion photos on the web, but I can create my own albums. I can do some search by picture. I can tag them. I can do a location tag. I know these kinds of basic things, which is a very small part of software compared to this is the second generation. Third, where a lot of work needs to be done around identity, like our Aadhaar kind of stuff. Somebody needs to verify credibly. I'm sure many of you know that certification, validation, and all that stuff. Now, all these generations relied on somebody owning the data, in a accumulated or a curated manner, and then the switch comes in the social network when consumers themselves create data as well. So how much content we add into Facebook or YouTube or anything, and also how much we consume from that. So it's the network effect, all as described by Sangeet Pal Chowdhury in the platform context. This becomes the significant shift in the way we have looked at data products. And of course, e-commerce platforms, things really offer. The value of this comes because of transactions that happen. That's the most beautiful thing that we need to remember. Amazon does millions of transactions across the globe on variety of things, not just buying. How many times people return, on what basis they return, how many different methods of payment they use, who uses what, and in what during which season people buy. All kinds of analytics are embedded into that one, and that makes it a very conducive environment for creating data products across for all kinds of users. Now we have moved into the area of agents, robotic advisors, etc., which is the beginning of the next generation, where I'm sure most of you would have tried already MarshallGoldsmith.ai, where the leadership guru explains every concept or every doubt that you have about leadership, in his own voice and style and persona. And finally, the monetization reaching the thing, they can subscribe to services, including the stock exchange, employability feeds, weather feeds, and all kinds of things that are there, which are chargeable. And of course, the same kind of things has also been used by organizations like Walmart, who can tell you precisely, on a Thursday between 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock, typically how many footfalls will happen in which region. Because they have so much of data, they can really tell those kinds of things, which doesn't have any security, privacy, confidentiality challenges, but they're all generalized, analyzed, and tested, and which are highly predictive of what people will do. So I'll quickly, the value of course will increase as you go through this one. I'll quickly run through some of the things that are the three examples. One I'll take in the beginning, one in the middle, and one in the end. So advanced visualizations, I'm sure the first thing that you must have remembered in the FIFA World Cup visualization, one single diagram, one visualization would show the entire FIFA, all countries, all stadiums, which team will play against him, and the result on which day, time, everything in if you wanted. Amazing visualization. This again got several awards. The right hand side one is one visualization which is applied consistently by GE. This visualization shows anywhere in the world, if there is a GE generator which is working and supplying power to the grid, then that the height of the thing is indicated by the you know the power amount of power that is generated, and it shows very clearly the entire global production capacity of electricity. The same thing was used by turbine CT scanners, GE CT scanners. Every time a patient undergoes a CT scan, the same kind of visualization they used to show how many scans happen at any given point of time anywhere in the world. So these are the kinds of things that we saw in the first generation of delivering information. And subsequently, we have seen many different things, like I mentioned about Spotify or the VLCC or Kindle or the map or any of these things, where we really, these apps that really work on one kind of a data type, these are discoverable. They are available in the marketplace. It has a price associated. You can personalize, configure, and do some changes that you want. You also can look at information sharing within the family, etc., so that they provide pass on the security tokens for use, and continuously they update these applications and also the enhance. So these are the middle level things that we saw. And the third one is very interesting. Today, many of you would have definitely seen what is the level of technology that is used in immigration, for example. Earlier, we were all very familiar that after you land in a country, you stand for anywhere between 20 minutes to 45 minutes to enter into the country, and there are lots of officers who had to scrutinize your passport and your visa sheets, everything, and then put a stamp, and then you're in. Today, we are really looking at a platform in which both sides are known. The visa status is known and your identity is known, and in less than 20 seconds, 20 to 40 seconds, you can complete the immigration process. So here in the platform era, we are really looking at API, identity authentication, experience, AIML, security, scalability, all embedded into one experience. This is the kind of things that we are seeing as and experiencing in data products. So let's watch one short video. It's just 1.5 minutes. But after that, I would like to hear from you. What is the data product here? Sorry. Sorry.
Sweden's Gothenburg is like most cities in the world. The locals travel cheaply by public transportation, while the tourists use expensive guided tours on buses, boats, and small trains. Silly, we thought. Why pay lots of money for something they can get cheaper from Västtrafik, the company that manages public transportation in Gothenburg? So we invented Tram Sightseeing, a free app that gives tourists guided tours for the price of a tram ticket. This is how it works. The app directs you to your nearest tram stop, tells you what line to get on.
Your tour is about to begin. Take tram 2 to Krokslätt. It will leave in 4 minutes.
And when the tram starts moving, the guided tour begins. The city's sites are geotagged, so a voice tells you about them as they pass outside the window.
The theater Stora Teatern on the right was the first stone building in Vasastaden.
And you can follow your route graphically on your phone. Using satellite navigation, the app always knows where you are. And thanks to its real-time connection with the traffic system, it knows exactly when it's the right time to get off and change to another tram line.
Get off at the next stop. Change to tram 4 to Mölndal. It will leave in 5 minutes.
A tour takes approximately 45 minutes and ends at the stop you started at. Thanks for choosing to travel with us.
So I can have some reactions from all of you. What do you think is the product here? Who is the consumer? And what are the interconnectedness of the data elements? What pieces are connected together? What's the data product? Who are the consumers? And what elements are connected to create this unique experience?
I mean, the consumers are definitely the tourists, the people who wants to travel in a particular country, and then
Right.
it's connected to the GPS system, the traffic or route, the railways, the which runs on the local track within the city, and then it is getting the live updates, the nearest stations, or the if station need to be changed, then it's also giving the alert. So basically, it's using continuously your real-time GPS data, positioning, and what different famous things are there to be known by for that that tourist person. So it is planning. So definitely there are a lot of data it is being infused to that app as well, because it knows where it's going, what the buildings or sightseeing the tourists must know about that. So it has infused all these data, pictures, and then it is using real-time GPS map. So it will be also showing you the track, the whole journey, where you are going, what's the upcoming thing. So it's really fantastic. I've never seen such app. I mean, it's really useful. Yeah.
Yes. So that's the power of data products. And so you can imagine the number of consumers who will increase, and obviously they will see a value. So this is the value delivery. This also shows what do we mean by value delivery. This is also means what is the branding. Vast traffic is branding, and people. And it's he also says very interesting thing is monetization. Though it is the cheapest, for a tram ticket you get a free sightseeing, because obviously people will prefer, and there's enough frequency and you make tons of money. And all the other people who are creating expensive modes like what he showed in the beginning, like the tram, boat tours and conducted tours and all, they really now are shamed by to really see that how this company is able to make so much money compared to whatever they are. So that's the quick context I wanted to. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. So
Yeah,
sure, continue.
Nagendra Bhushan here. So by looking at this, this looks very inspiring, and the things are like here. The consumers can be many different consumers, and this app can be utilized by like for various like you can get the information where people more go in the city, or like there are like various kind of visualization we can play around with, like
Yes.
what are the major areas, or like when people usually visit at what time, and based on that insights businesses can be attracted as well, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Very true.
and not just one single business, but there are, for that particular tram stop, there will be a many businesses which will interact basically.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Correct. Wonderful. Wonderful. So, see, so many possibilities. That's exactly the power of data and how you can really And we are already seeing many of those things in reality today, including image generation to, every automated agents logging onto the meetings. The one on the left-hand side, which may be really looking at, is a automated car parking. You can you can just get off the car and it will park you in the right slot. So these technologies are in action today. Even autonomous driving is 100% car data product. Autonomous vehicle is a completely product. So
So
now at
Arati,
this point,
there was a comment from Payal. I really liked her perspective. I just shared here in the chat. Uh, I mean, one way to look at this new product is to really think about, multiple data products coming together to build a newer one, right?
Absolutely.
You have the maps, which is a product. You have the GPS, which is a product. You're bringing all those
Right.
products because they are nice, well-defined interfaces, and you're able to layer it like a Lego brick, and then build a
Yes.
newer service to the end user.
Absolutely.
Good observation,
Absolutely.
File. Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, this is exactly what we started from the thing. If you, I'm very much tempted. I'll just say this for 30 seconds and leave it to Ravi for the next part. If you all believe car is a product? Absolutely true. Car is a product. Do you think tire is a product? Of course, yes. I buy the tire. Audio system is a product? Yes. Seat is a product? Yes. Petrol is a product? Yes. So this is the best way that we can think, is that how we can aggregate and make it into a functional which can give a unique experience, is at the end of the day what makes it a product. Brilliant observation, and that's exactly what we also wanted to say, that think about just car, or even our human body is made up of so many parts and products. Liver is by itself thing, and every organ that we have is of a very unique value, and the assemblage, or the intelligent assemblage of all these things to put together, can really make something so interesting and so wonderful. And so that's the power. Now I would like to stop sharing and hand over to Ravi for taking this further on how beautifully it can be accommodated in a platform. Uh, I'll be happy to continue and navigate for you, Ravi.
Yes, Anand, let's go to the slide.
So this one.
Yeah. So we wanted to share our perspectives of, how to look about data projects versus data products and platform. This requires a mindset shift. Now we're going to focus. Today's webinar is about, what does it mean to be a product mindset. So I've been a product architect for several years now. I'm sharing on the right side my perspective of what it means to really think about from a product perspective. But the first is, when you have this product mindset, you are thinking about a long-term focus. You are thinking about what your business wants, what is your business vision, what is your strategy, where do you want to go. So you have a better picture of where the end state needs to be. You don't know probably all of the steps to get there, but you know where the end state needs to be. So that really helps you to figure out what is the best way to architect your data sets or your data domains in a way that realizes your business vision. That's a long-term focus. Whereas if you were to think of a project, you're thinking of, how do I finish this project and move on to the next project, right? Whereas here, you're really thinking about the long-term focus of the product. The second is, having a product mindset, you become more customer centric. We touched upon, proper data modeling, proper data interfaces, so that you're really thinking who could be the next layer that's going to use the services that you provide, or towards the end customer, if it's the end product that you finally are going to manifest, you're putting what the customer is looking for. And that becomes your focus versus, time and material kind of a focus. The third one is a very important one, is to do with the iterative development. What iterative development helps you, RNP, if you can go back to the previous one. Yeah, what iterative development helps you is to really deliver a meaningful capability to the end user, get the feedback, fold in the feedback, then deliver the incremental, versus a sequential, a waterfall in a project mindset, right? This iterative development really helps you to build the right product or the right platform, keeping the customer in mind. So that's the benefit of having this product mindset. And the last one, we touched upon this in the other question, is the ownership orientation, where you're really not only giving the initial interfaces, initial data that is required, or the initial elements, but you're also going through the entire life cycle. We touched upon, how do you support it, how do you enrich it, all of that, you will shift the ownership. More importantly, the ownership also shifts to the data set owner that is going to be providing it, right? so that once you say that, hey, I own this data, I'm responsible for it, I'm responsible for maintaining it, I'm responsible for the trustworthiness of it, I'm responsible for the discoverability of it, then your mindset shifts. Oh, next slide, RMB. So this is one perspective to look about the data product and the platform. On the left is you have the various data sources. Now here we are touching about how do you aggregate. What we are sharing here is that you start whatever the sources could be, bring them into a meaningful data domain. It could be a very big domain like a HR or a finance or a supply chain, but there could be multiple subdomains and furthermore finer granularity of domains. But once you break it down, you will start modeling the data in a way that becomes easier to consume, and it becomes easier to make it into a data product. With what RNP shared earlier on the definition of a data product, you take these data domains and the data sets and you wrap it with all the output accesses that you want to provide. Now that becomes the data product. On the right side is the consumption of it. You want to provide the end user. We saw the app, the travel app. Now it is using multiple data services which are coming from multiple data products. They're all combined together to build that particular app so that you are meeting the needs of the end user. Now, as you can see from this, right, breaking it this way, now if your domain is well defined and your interfaces to it is covered with the data product, you can rely on it. Then you can focus more on the consumption side. You can have more innovations, more creativity in assembling these data products to create an higher value of service to your end customers. RMP, anything you wanted to add to that? Oh, you are on mute. Yeah. Okay. You can share the perspective on this slide, RMP, about how the domain thinking and the product thinking makes it a data product.
So this is very clearly showing the convergence of the particular business domain. You can look at it from both angles. It could be a functional domain, it could be a business domain, and apply product thinking on that. So then we really look at the way that you are really looking at things will radically change. The elements that we spoke about, the characteristics of the product, the trustworthiness, discoverability, features, ability to come up with newer models, and serviceability and warranty, all kinds of things that we said. And more importantly, there are very, very powerful and proven product life cycle management frameworks available. Organizations such as Spice Catalyst and many other companies, Pragmatic Marketing, they have very powerful product management frameworks. And that can really take care of all kinds of things from ideation all the way up to obsolescence and making the product obsolete by yourself. So if you put all the things, then we are really looking at starting our journey with the data domain, add a lot of metadata, then integrate and add the data quality attributes that are required to make sure that what we are dealing with is the clean, neat, and manageable data. Then we top analytics, machine learning, everything will come on top of that. Then semantics and business canonical forms and everything will make it consumable for a lay user who is familiar with the terminology used in their domain. Then we add self-governance, governance, and observability parts, right? And then secure the product and put it in a catalog. So this entire set of activities, instead of trying to hand over things to a consumer just after analytics or just after integration, we are really adding many things and packaging all the things like a product where the request will come to you at the input port and the output port will deliver the results in the way that you want. And control really takes care of all the activating any of the layers that are there. And of course, cloud is the basic infrastructure that is required. So we are now really looking at exactly like in the software development, we are using microservices, domain oriented design. We can really look at this as an equivalent of that. Data products are also equivalent of the microservices survey that you create, and those are independently maintainable, they are independently enhanceable, they are independently discoverable, and they are encapsulated, and they will do their job, and they can be combined with anything else. What else you need in terms of handshaking with all the other pieces of the data that you have in the organization. So this is the model that we are really going to see, which will enhance more consumers. And of course, a data literacy program will help one organizations to implement these kinds of things.
So we have a
Yeah.
request from Dinesh if we can zoom in on the slide on the previous one for better readability.
Okay. I need to do that separately. Uh, so here, uh,
Thank you.
so yeah, it has the moment you think about a domain, you have a boundary. For example, finance department has a boundary, HR function has a boundary, supply chain has a boundary, employee engagement has a boundary. Then you know all the technology platforms that are used in order to create data, store data, consume data, process data, govern data, everything. Then you also have all the metadata integrated with that so that everything can be discovered and put as self-service. And you can put in the required level of IAM, which is identity access management, everything on top of that. And more importantly, for anything else, business canonical form, business rules that are associated with interpreting the data can also become part of the data domain. So that's the beauty of packaging all the things into one and encapsulating all the other details in with just the ports working together. Yeah, Ravi, you can continue.
Thank you.
Yeah, there was some good observation on the chat, RLP, from Sandeep. You're spot on, Sandeep, talking about, yes, you need an enterprise-wide sound data and data product strategy. I totally agree with it. Anirban had another observation here. Anirban, if you can come off the mute, if you can explain a little bit, maybe we could talk a little bit on that.
Yes, basically what I'm thinking related to that, whenever we are going for any customers for giving the various perspective of the data products or something, so always they are always be very skeptical for investment. So, and you can see that across this industry that IT spending is gradually reducing in various aspects. They are very defensive of doing things. So basically considering their spending approach or spending defensive approach of the spending, how we can go into this middle out approach from either not a product, not a project. So going into an iterative or any very roadmap that how you can move out from this project-based thought process to product-based thought process your data. So that would be helpful for proposing to them and get the confidence of the customers. Yes, this is the process, this is the roadmap we can follow, then we can get some benefit from this. Definitely, this is a good approach, there is no doubt. But to get the path from them, from their existing transformations, from their project-based thought process to product-based thought process on their data. That's my view.
A great question, Anirban. Maybe I'll touch upon this. R&B, you can also help me. But this slide is really going to maybe give you some data points as to how it could help. First is that, I do want to make it clear that, there are certain things where a project mindset is absolutely the right thing to do, right? And there are certain things that are, a product mindset will really help you. The first is if something is if you find there is a longer term business vision and a strategy and a roadmap to get there, right? That you really need to step back, think about what the architecture is in place, because once you do that, at the end, it's going to be lower cost to deliver, lower cost to maintain, lower cost to deliver with higher velocity. Okay, but there are certain projects that it's a one-off. You have to do it and you're done with it. Now that's a perfect example for doing a project one. But if you see many of that happening and you realize that hey, it would have been better approached in a product perspective We'll touch more upon that, right, in this slide. First is, when you think about a product perspective, you will think about the architecture, and architecture really matters. Especially when you have, we touched upon data silos, right, and copies of the data, right? If you have a proper architecture in place, you are reducing the cost of not having a copy sprawl of your data. You have to maintain the data, you have to store the data, you're spending all of those dollars on that. But if you have an architecture that allows you to minimize the copies of the data that you have, if you have an architecture that ensures that, I'm going to obfuscate the data, I'm going to keep it privacy aware so that anybody accesses it, I have one place to put the controls around, right? That really helps you to reduce the cost because you're not doing the same thing over and over in multiple different places. So architecture really matters. When you think about the product mindset and the longer duration, that the overall cost will come down because you really thought about that problem. Now, the second one is with the higher value to the stakeholders. Today, your use cases may be one or two, but if the data is structured in a way that, like we saw some of those examples, right, you can think about the Lego blocks and you can deliver higher value, right? If you think from that perspective, today it might be this, but if I build it this way, I can unlock other kinds of use cases, and you might not embark on it today, but you can articulate like these are the ones that you can unblock in the future if you go this way. We touched upon this trustworthiness of the data, right? Now, once you become the owner, you are responsible for it. You have the data model, you have the interfaces. Now it becomes your responsibility that it is clean and kosher, and it is well defined, right? You could have multiple sources of it. You can do a proper data cleansing to make sure that whoever is going to use it on the northbound, they get a really good enriched data, right? Definitely, all this leads to higher business agility because you have a proper architecture, there's a proper domain boundaries, you can rely on the data, and you can start building the solutions in a faster pace. So if you had those domains on the product defined well, it becomes much easier to build the applications on top of it, which is of higher value. And we touched upon, definitely a decision making. It really helps you because now you can really trust the data that you have. And last but not least, we touched upon the supportability piece also. Now you can focus on who the owner of the data is. They can make it cleaner, and you can have reduced the technical debt that you can pile on if there are multiple silos of the data and you're replicating the same data in multiple different places. So that's our perspective, Anirban. Hopefully it answered your question. Any thoughts, or RNP, if you want to add anything on to that?
No, that's fine. That's fine. That would be helpful for more perspective and more holistically think in that perspective and propose accordingly to understand their target, that current state of their architecture and the product platform perspective, what is the architecture, then how we can transform their architecture, not in a big bang, very iterative way, how we can move into that area that we need to think, considering their investment appetite, how they are trying
Absolutely.
to invest in them. That's the objective. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I understand.
Thanks, Anirban. I think you brought in good perspectives there as well. In order to incrementally do it, right, it need not be definitely a big bang, right? Incrementally doing it in that mindset and the time horizon and the investment that you've got. Now, one way to visualize this, we try to stack up into the layers. It's kind of think of this as a architecture slide. On the top, you're thinking of your consumers, you're thinking of various, either monetizing the data itself, or you're building these apps that you want to provide to the end user at the speed that the business wants, right? Now, how do you think about putting all of the things that we do here is to think really at the bottom is the platform, and then to think about the domains that you build. To build these domains, you are getting the data from various data sources. It could be enterprise apps, it could be external data. You're pulling all of that various sources of information and converting them into domains. And you're also thinking of putting all the ML ops and the BCF that RNP talked about all in a layered way so that, you are leveraging the domains of data you have to deliver higher value to your data consumers. RNP, anything more you want to add?
No, Ravi, that's fine. That's fine to me. Yeah, here, yeah,
go ahead.
this is a very big success story of organization who has created hundreds of data products in a particularly pharma industry, which is the Roche. Particularly something called as a tumor board, where every potential consumer of information about a tumor gets the right perspective required by that consumer by combining everything, whether it is lab data, whether it is the hospital data, whether it is the research data, or it is the drug related data. Everything is integrated and one gets a unified page. It's a massive thing. Hundreds of products have created just around one idea called tumor. So this is also a domain. This is the way that the people look at domain as well. So there are wonderful case studies that some of you may want to know more about it. You can look for Roche success stories around data products. So that's all the thing that we wanted to really say. And thanks very much for being with us. In summary, we are saying that every enterprise has lots of data, and there is a very mature understanding of in the entire world about product management life cycle. If we put those product management lifecycle ideas on top of the enterprise data and create the data products, and that too delivered as a self-service or a monetizable service in the right way, as we saw, we are now moving in the journey of a data product, which can become a strategic imperative for every enterprise. Thank you very much, and really appreciate Ravi for collaborating with me and putting all these things together. And thanks, Anirudh.
So, firstly, thank you everyone. We still have more than 100 people with us, and it's credit to Ravi and RNP sir for delivering such an engaging session and on such a complex topic. So thank you firstly to our speakers, to our mentors. Yes, thank you. And thank you, Ravi and RNP sir, for delivering such a great session. Now, moving to the next piece, there are two things. The feedback poll has been already released. I would request to kindly share that so that it is helpful for us to plan the further sessions and how your experience has been for this session. Uh, Shortly after the webinar is over, you will be receiving a recording link for you to go through about and revisit any learnings that you would want. And before I go there, I would also want to take this opportunity to also introduce the next webinar series that we are planning in the month of October, firstly. So this is going to be scheduled on 3rd of October, which will be focusing primarily on FinOps, where it will be focusing on a FinOps approach from looking at it on how to optimizing the cloud costs and ensuring that both the balance of the finance and the cloud performance is being maintained. So before we move ahead, any questions? I would like to keep it open for anyone to unmute themselves, speak about how their experience has been, or want to ask any questions. Over to everyone. Anyone would want to unmute themselves?
Anirudh, there was one last question that Mukesh, I did type in here.
Mukesh,
so
yes,
RNP,
please.
there was a question on data mesh versus data product.
Yes.
What does it mean? I shared my perspective that, data product is essential for a data mesh, right? At the end of the day. Anything else you wanted to add to that?
Very true, because Martin Fowler, again, same 2016, when he was the one who started really saying that, decentralization of the whole enterprise data is crucial and there must be ownership. And that's how this whole journey started. And that really got translated into data mesh. Now, if you remember I'm sure all of us who have come in the data track will know the disputes that always used to be there between data mart and data warehouse. Bill Inman and other who is the other gentleman. I'm sure all of you know about it. Um, mm, so the enterprise took two different approaches. One, let's say we have marketing, sales, finance, etc. We will build data marts for all of them and provide integrated information. The other approach was to say that I'll do it for the whole scale and a big bang approach for the whole enterprise. So today we have these two technologies, data mesh and data fabric, which exactly reflects those kinds of thinking. If you really look for data mesh approach, then you are really creating domain by domain and keep on adding, and ultimately you will be able to service many domains parallelly as you scale the data product development team. And fortunately, there also today, both streams are very mature. From the agile perspective, you have product owner, product manager, scrum master, release train engineer. Everybody we know that they're all very standard, very already those roles exist. Similarly, on the combination of these two, product management and agile product development engineering can definitely coexist. So this will be applicable both for data mesh, where you start with each domain and deliver, or you take a big bang approach of a data fabric and really look at I think one of the questions that came also was cross-functional information delivery. So people who are interested in cross-functional information delivery will start on a fabric, because that's all the domains will come up simultaneously, and that will the whole domain will increase in its capability as we go up. So both approaches are possible, and in fact Gartner, as you see, they will recommend both of them. And some of the products which I talked about, for example, DevOps .live, etc., or there is one other organization, Nextla. All these companies are really coming up in this area to support both kinds of thought processes. So both are going to be important, both mesh and fabric.
Ravi, there's a question for you from Atul.
Yeah, Atul, this is the question. RNP is about, what are some of tools and technology you would recommend? I don't want to be putting here, this tool and this technology, but there are RNP had a good infographics of, what are all the different tools available for different functions. You could take a look at it, but we won't specifically recommend any tool or solution here. The whole thing is about what the data product mindset is about and how do you go about problem solving it. Maybe you can connect with RNP on a specific set of technology questions you have, Atul.
Yeah.
Thanks, Anirudh. We are on time.
Yeah, on time, sir. On time. I mean, such an informative session, going into so much of depth and finishing on time with all the Q&A answered is a big feat. So it's thanks to both of you, and also the audience who has been very engaging and participative.
Thank you, Anirudh.
Thank
See
you.
you all.
Thank you. Right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.